Okay, sorry guys. Actually, I was on mute. So let's discuss. Hi everyone. So we are going to discuss about this Cloud Architect Master program. Okay, and I should be audible. Just hold on. Hello. Can you please confirm if I'm audible? Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hi. Okay, Sandesh. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. So we were discussing about the Cloud Architect Master program. So the first module we cover here is that AWS Solution Architect Associate level. And there is a Azure 104, AZ 104 and 304 approx. Also some part of 304. Okay. And the GCP Cloud Security Professional. We are going to start the class in next 5 minutes for GCP. So today we have already taken the AWS class, and Azure also might start in next 10-15 days. Okay. So whenever anybody goes for this program Cloud Architect, so we have AWS batches, Azure, GCP. So whenever they want to cover any module, they can check this schedule page and they can cover all these modules. So it's a combo program. So once you cover all three, then we have another program which is Docker and Kubernetes. Okay. And also there is one module here, AWS DevOps. Okay, so that is a development plus operations, which is on high demand right now in the market. Okay, and many people who are into networking or in the server side, they can go for this cloud program. So we are migrating to the cloud programs, and this is a rigorous program or like a robust program who really want to become a cloud engineer. Okay, so this is I would not say that freshers cannot join. Freshers can also join, but yes, they should have at least a CCNA or some kind of IT knowledge. Okay, if you are a fresher, if you do not have knowledge of either CCNA or either Linux, if you are good at Linux also, you can still go for this program. Okay, but I would recommend you to have at least some basic networking knowledge and all. But those who are into IT or those who have already done CCNA, CCNP, already working as a network engineer, but they want to move into cloud, so this is the best program because this is an architect program. Okay. And those who already have a Red Hat certified like 𝐅𝐢𝐫𝐬𝐭, 𝐅𝐢𝐿TSC, they can also go for this cloud program. Okay. And this is not the end, guys. This is the starting of cloud. Next week, we are going to start one module, which is cloud security, which is a Zscaler product. Okay. Zscaler. Okay. Zscaler is #1 company nowadays into cloud security. So we are going to have a new batch of Zscaler also. This is very good program for the network and system engineers. So Ansible and Jenkins will be discussed in AWS DevOps. Okay. So that is a part of AWS DevOps and all. But this is more specific to the architect program. Okay, so these all three are taken care by professionals. Means AWS is taken care by Sanjay sir. Azure is taken care by one cloud engineer. His name is �𝐬𝐭. GCP, we are going to start. I'm sure the trainer connected with us. Just hold on. Yeah, he's going to join, I think. Shubham, CCNP service provider also going to start next weekend, which covers L2 VPN, L3 VPN, multicast, everything which is related to service provider. Okay, so this is more specific to the cloud. Okay, and yes, those who have only joined the GCP course or they have only joined the Azure or AWS, they can anytime upgrade. Okay, they can anytime upgrade on to in these cloud architect master program. Okay, so what is the benefit they are going to get? Suppose right now you can see there are 4 or 5 programs into this. So whosoever join this cloud architect master program, so they are going to get 1 year updates from our side. because cloud technology is changing oftenly. So 1 year updates means, suppose you are taking these batches and in 3 months you are going to complete these program. Just take an idea, 3 months to approx you are going to complete all these modules, 3 or 4 months. But after 5 months, 7 months, or 8 months, suppose AWS comes with some new solution, or GCP Azure has a new things. Okay. So 1 year means, even like when we are going to take the batches in future, like maybe after 8 or 9 months, so those video classes also you will be going to get. Okay. Are you getting, guys, what I'm telling you? Yeah. So those who are joining this cloud architect program, so we are giving you 1 year updates. So if anything gets updated, whenever we take the live sessions, so those video classes will be uploaded to your batch also, because we want to make sure that cloud should be updated, because we have seen a lot of changes into AWS. We have seen a lot of changes in Azure. GCP is also the number one cloud in terms of pay scale. GCP is not number one in terms of services as of now, because AWS has 50% market. But yes, because many people are moving to AWS, many people are moving to Azure. So GCP is still, many people are not touching this. This is why GCP is in huge demand. The companies who are using GCP, they are not getting GCP cloud engineers, and this is why it is going in demand. Okay, so the best, we do not have to do what we call, we do not have to go into the same race where people are going. We have to be unique in the market, then only we are going to get the high salaries. Okay, so AWS Azure is a better solution, but yes, I would always recommend GCP, because GCP has very less people in the market. But GCP, I do not recommend just only GCP if you are a fresher. Okay, or if you are new to IT, then combo would be better choice for you all. Okay, so let me check just 1 minute, guys. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, so these are the demo. I have already shared this link in the chat. So guys, you can check the demo sessions here. So this is how it is going to go. So Cloud Architect Master Program is of 5 programs. So you can check the AWS demo here. You can check the Azure demo here. Okay. So this is the Google Cloud demo, and this is the DevOps demo. So Docker and Kubernetes also, the demo we are going to upload here. So this is a combo of all cloud solutions right now in the market. So again, I'm repeating, this is a cloud architect master program. Okay, those who are moving into coding or in cloud, there are multiple other programs. This is more specific to IT infra. तो ये उन लोगों के लिए, ज्यादा उन लोगों के लिए जो नेटवर्क इंजीनियर हैं, सिस्टम इंजीनियर, और दोज हु आर ऑलरेडी वर्किंग एज अ लाइनेक्स एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर, दोज हु आर ऑलरेडी वर्किंग इनटू आईटी इंफ्रा. जस्ट होल्ड ऑन.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, hi Nitish. How are you?
Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Cool, cool. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. It was just see. I just wanted to take a feedback from you also.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, so we have made a program which is cloud architect because many companies like Aviatrix, if you heard about this.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay, so they are into multi-cloud. Okay, many
Okay.
companies are moving into Aviatrix. I have seen many companies are going into multi-cloud environment. So
Right,
they are
right.
not just using the GCP or only AWS.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
these companies are using multi-cloud. Okay, so networking always comes with the latest technologies so that people will get the benefit. Okay, so we have made the combo of AWS, Azure, and GCP, but all solution architect levels.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, and yes, this is not the end. We have also added Docker and Kubernetes because that is going to be the next thing, right? Many companies are using Docker and Kubernetes to manage their applications. And yes, the fifth program, right now it is not finalized, but we are
Mm-hmm.
going to add the AWS DevOps. What do you think? That is all good combo, or DevOps should be a complete different one?
DevOps should be a complete different one,
Mhm,
right? And see, I mean, the development side and the programming side should be different
mhm.
apart from these, right? And what you can include here is you can include security in this, wherein,
Zscaler, which I am
yeah,
talking about. Okay.
Zscaler and multiple other third-party vendors that give
Okay, great.
security. Yeah.
So yeah, so because it was because you guys are working in a
Hmm,
production
hmm.
network,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
AWS, this is like a solution architect is okay, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
So Azure 104, which is cloud administrator, and
Administrator. Hmm.
yeah, 304 also, which is like Azure cloud security, what we call Azure solution architect.
Hmm.
GCP already you are covering the cloud security part, right?
Right. Cloud and
Yeah.
security. Yes.
So
Hmm.
Docker Kubernetes, we should remain, right? So we should
Yes.
not remove this. And the fifth module, instead of DevOps, we are
Hmm.
removing here.
Hmm.
We are not removing guys from live batch. You are going to get the videos of DevOps. Okay. So that in maybe someone who wants get a job, so you can watch this. But the live session, we are going to add the Zscaler. Okay. So these are 5 programs will be finalized because even I was dicey
Hmm.
because I'm not able to relate. DevOps is a good thing, but still it is for those guys who are into software more, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So this is the best now, right? Cloud Master Program.
Yeah. This should be it. Yes.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Nitish. So
No
I'll
worries.
be,
Yeah.
yeah. So we have made you the host. Yes,
Sure.
guys. So this will be the final batch. AWS Solution Architect, Azure 104 plus 304. GCP now Nitish is going to cover. Okay, Docker and Kubernetes and Zscaler Cloud Security Program, which is the many companies are using Zscaler and the stock like this company is going very good in the market. I'm sure Nitish, you also agree, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. So thank you. So I have made you the co-host.
Sure. Sure. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Let me make you the host only. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. You can carry on. Yeah, guys. So the class is going to be now GCP. Okay. You can share your screen.
Sure. Sure. Give me a second. Let me share. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. I'll be leaving because I have another session. So thanks. Okay. Yeah.
Sure. Sure. Okay. Let me know. Just a second. Let me reshare. Okay. Let me know if you see my screen. Cool. Thank you. Okay. So today I won't be, covering GCP as a whole, but I would starting from the basic because I do not know the audience that who has what background. So we'll start with the basics, right? As we already mentioned that we would start with basic and then move on to the advanced technical stuff in GCP, right? So the first class, thank you so much guys for joining, and we'll start the class 1, wherein I would be covering basic network introduction, yes, and basic I mean differences that we have. Okay, cool. So let me set this up. Okay, let me know if you still can see my screen. Cool. Okay. Yes. Thank you so much. Okay. So before starting, I think somebody wrote it also. Yes. So I'll give you a brief about myself also. So I'm Nitish Tiwari. I work in a multinational company. I work for an OEM, right? Wherein I'm currently looking into the cloud security, and I work for AWS, Azure, and GCP, and I do have some projects and working on Alibaba as well, right? And and apart from this, I am also working on Prisma Cloud and Prisma Access, right? And along with it, I also work with Zscaler. Basically, that is used for connectors from the on-prem to the public cloud, and also for your web proxies, which are created and installed in the cloud. So I have around 8+ years of experience. I have done my CCI security. I have multiple certification on cloud, which include AWS, Azure, GCP, along with CCSP. And yes, and currently based out of Bangalore. So yeah, so that's brief about me. And if anybody want to give a brief and any experience that you don't have any knowledge on these topics, so that I can know the audience, and then I can start. If anybody can go ahead, yeah. Let me see who all are the participant. Yeah, so Jay Kumar, can you unmute yourself and tell me about yourself, please? And any language is comfortable, not an issue. Jay Kumar, you're there? Okay, let's move on to next. Sandesh, can you unmute yourself and give a brief about yourself so that I can have a lecture what the audience is all about, or anyone else?
Hello?
Yeah, Jay,
Hello.
please.
Yeah, this is currently I'm located in Chennai.
Okay.
Actually, I'm looking for GCP.
Uh-huh.
I completed my AWS.
Cool. Cool. Okay.
And I'm working for Precision Infotech as a project manager.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Cool. Thank you so much. Sandesh, go ahead. I've unmuted you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, please.
Yeah, I'm based in Goa. Right now, I'm already a student with networking, doing my phase 1, that is at CCNA, NCSA, and Linux. And had a experience in IT for last 5 years.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much. Anyone else wants to speak? Okay, cool. So I'll start today's class. All right. So the class would be all about the basic stuffs, right? I would start with the basics and then move to the advanced on the future classes, right? So the first class that we are gonna speak about is on the hub, switch, and routers. So you guys have already worked on these stuffs, right? And how these stuffs would be relevant on the cloud. Yes. So there are concepts that the cloud uses, right? And it's quite similar to what we have already learned, but we need to understand these terminology and then make the comparison with the cloud. Right, so today we'll be speaking about the network terminologies and stuff, and then we'll in the next class we will talk about these comparative to the cloud technologies. All right, so what is a hub, switch, and router, right? So as you work daily now, work from home has become a part of your life, right? Wherein you have your Wi-Fi routers, right? In your Wi-Fi router there are uh, where you configure your internet, right? And you have your LAN, and LAN is nothing but your local network area, right? And what happens is once you connect to the internet, you are given a private subnet, right? Private connectivity, and then you are connected to the internet, right? So these stuffs are compared with the router. Now, if we talk about hubs, right? So what is hub? So when you plug in on your one of the port on the hub, right? And you plug in another port. Like suppose I'm connecting my laptop with a hub, and a hub is connected to one more router or a server, right? So directly I'll get the access to that particular server, right, through the hub. Now if I have like multiple laptops to connect to that server, right, but the server has only one port to connect, only one available port. So what I will do is I will connect all the laptops on that particular hub and one single port to the server. So all the laptops that are connected to that single hub will get access, right? So it's kind of an path, right, which you follow to reach to the destination. Now the switch also gives the same same sort of work, but the thing is you can segregate stuffs. Now in case of hub, when you connect to that particular hub, right, a laptop or a server, so all will have similar zone or environment. So once they connect to one environment, they will remain in the single environment. They cannot distinguish two environments. Why I'm saying this, we'll cover these in the next slide. So there is a concept called collision and broadcast. Okay, so collision is nothing but what happens is when you connect one of the port on one of the devices, right? So what happens is that particular let's bring the, this is not how you'll understand. Let me bring this up. Give me a second. Let me stop and reshare. Okay, let me bring this paint up. Cool. And let me reshare. Okay, guys, I'm still audible, right? I see in chat that you can't hear my voice. Am I audible or? Okay, cool. Thank you. Okay, so so we'll speak about these two terminology, right? Okay, now suppose as I was speaking on the hub, right? So as I said that this hub is connected to one hub. Sorry, a laptop is connected to a hub. Okay, and that particular hub is now connected to a server now. Okay, so as soon as you connect to the hub, you'll have the direct access to this particular server, because this hub works on a single collision, not collision, you can say a domain, a common domain, wherein you plug in your laptops, you can connect to that particular server or another laptop. Okay, so if you are from a gaming background, so what we used to do to connect to a similar LAN network, so we used to connect to a hub and we are all in the same network, right? So the hub does that for you. Okay, now when we talk about switch also has this capability wherein you configure all the ports in single VLAN. We speak about VLANs also, right? So when it works on the same VLAN or VLAN ID, you can say. So that switch also works as an hub, wherein you'll connect your laptop or any other device, and you want to connect to other device, it will give you direct access to that particular uh, server or your another external device, right? Depending on the IP configuration which you have done. We'll also speak about that. Okay, so now how the switch and hub is different now, right? So switch also has one capability wherein you can configure like suppose I have like 4 port in my switch. Okay, so I want to configure 2 port in one VLAN ID and the other 2 in another VLAN ID, right? So now what happens is these VLAN IDs are different, so it works differently. So now they will have different environment or domain, you can say, right? These 2 port, which is suppose in VLAN 3 and this is VLAN is in 4. So these VLAN IDs will be segregated and they won't be knowing about what is happening in all those VLANs. Okay, so they are segregated from each other. So if you talk about these 2 ports which are in same VLAN, it will work as an hub here. Okay, and these 2 ports which are in the same VLAN ID, right? They will work in the same domain and will work as an hub, right? So that is the reason hub was advanced to switches, right? Wherein it works in different um, can work in different VLAN IDs and can be segregated. Let's suppose I have like 10 servers, right? And I want the access, right? Like suppose I have 4 servers here. Now I can connect these VLAN to these port and one laptop, right? So this laptop will have access to this server only because these 2 port are working on different VLAN IDs. Okay, so now these 2 are connected. This laptop is connected to this port, and these other port of the same VLAN will connect to other server. So this server will have access, or sorry, this laptop will have access to this server, right? So you got the understanding idea, right? So it works as in if you talk about your locality, right, where you live. Like if you stay in your home, right, so all the members which are there will belong to your own family, right? Well, like your mother, your father, everybody is in the same domain, in the same house, right? So that works. You can have that similar concept here also, right? But your neighbors, which you do not know, but you interact for some time, but you do not know what is going on in their life and what is happening in their houses, right? So the same concept is being used here in the switch also. Okay, so now as we have spoken about switches, Any doubt on this hub and switch? Very basic thing. If you want me to explain again, I can. Is this clear? A hub and switch concept. We'll speak more into collision and broadcast, all right, and the IP addresses which I have spoken, and VLANs also. Okay, just the basic. I'm not going into it deep. Okay, cool. Okay, now why routers came when you had the same concept in the switch and in the hub? So why routers came in? Okay, let me do this. Okay, so a laptop is connected to the router. This is R. And the router is connected to the server. Now what happens is, as I was speaking about the collision and broadcast, right? So broadcasts are more into switches, right? And collision concept comes in routers. So what happens is when you connect the interfaces, so these are nothing but interfaces, or you have heard about something called ports, right? So the ports or interfaces, these are the like suppose router has two ports or interfaces, port 1, port 2, right? Wherein port 1 is connected to your network, to your LAN, right? Wherein you have your laptop. Okay, so you have your laptop, and suppose this has an IP of, so IP is nothing but the identification for any I mean any devices, right? So when we talk about in networks, any devices that comes in has to have some IP, right? So it's kind of an identification. Like suppose you have some, I mean, you are planning to go somewhere, right? Your source is from your home, right? And you're going to, suppose you are going to your to some market, support ABC market, right? So your source is your home address, and your destination which you are planning to go is the ABC market, right? So you need to know all those stuffs beforehand. So this is your home address, wherein this is the laptop and it has some IP address, and this is the ABC market, which is nothing but server, right? So this will be in the different collision domain. Okay, why I'm saying it, let me first write this to 2.2.1.1. Okay, so router works in the collision, one collision, this is the one collision domain, and this is another collision domain. Okay, so they work on separate domains, wherein in a hub and in switch they could work in like couple of port can work in the same domains, right? But this is not the case in the router. So router, all the interfaces work in different collisions, right? Unless and until you have there's a concept called aggregate and all, so that is something else, right? But in the basic we'll understand that all the ports work on the different collision domains. Okay, and they need to, on every collision domain has different IP addressing schemes. Okay, so you need to use different IP addresses on the machines and on the routers. Okay, so this is your home address, or this is your source IP address, right? It wants to go to 2.2.2. So what happens is this laptop when sends a packet, the destination or the gateway, sorry, the gateway between the destination for this is the uh, port where it hits the router, right? So when the packet is getting out from the firewall, sorry, from the laptop. So it first reaches the router on port, suppose it is port number 1. Okay. Okay. And this is suppose port number 2. Okay, so this laptop packet data packet hits the router on port 1, which works as a gateway. Gateway is nothing but, like, suppose you're sitting in a room, right, and you want to go out from that particular room. So there must be one gate or two gate, right? But in our case, we have only one gateway, right? So if you are sitting in a room and you want to go out of that room to go to your another living room or drawing room, right? So you have one gate or one door with you, so you can go out and come in from that particular gateway. So the same concept also uses here. Okay, so the for going out to this particular destination, it has only one gateway, which is port 1. Okay, so the packet first hits this router on port 1 and it goes inside the router, and there are concepts that we'll speak about later. Okay, that happens, and then the packet leaves the router from port 2 and then reaches the destination on this particular port. Okay, and the reverse happens when it gives the content back to the router, to the laptop. So what happens is this time this server gateway would be port 2, because it has only one way to go out and come in, right? So this server's packet hits the port 2 of router, stuff happens in router, and then it leaves the router in port 1 and then reaches the laptop. Okay, so these are nothing but one collision, and this is one collision. Okay, so simple concept. We'll speak more about this. Okay, so I've written these stuffs. Okay, and there is a concept which I want to highlight. Where's the paint? Okay, yeah. Okay, as we have already spoken about router. Okay, okay, so we speak about the stuff. Okay, now suppose you are in your laptop, you are working something, right, and you are connected to a Wi-Fi, right, wherein you want to connect to the internet, right? So what happens is, if you see in your laptops, right, that these laptop works on the private IP addresses, which we'll speak about. Okay, so there's a concept called private IPs and public IPs. Okay, and these private IPs are configured on all the local networks. So your laptop, your phone, or your TV, your smart TVs, right, your desktop, that are all connected to a Wi-Fi router, those all are in the local network. Okay, so once it hit the router, your Wi-Fi router, right, it hits on the LAN side of that particular router. So there is a concept called LAN. Okay, LAN is nothing but local area network. Okay, so local area network, as the name suggests, all your local devices that are connected to any device that helps you to interconnect all the local devices. So it is known as local area network. Okay, so it's local to your connectivity. Okay, now this router will connect to your internet, because you're required to have internet, right? So there's a concept called WAN. Okay, and also sometimes we say it as ISP, which is nothing but internet service providers, right? So let's suppose you have connected using Airtel broadband, right? So in your case, the ISP or the WAN would be your uh, Airtel, and Airtel will give you the public IP. Okay, and you'll use private IPs in your local area network. Okay, there are methods wherein you can assign it manually or through DHCP. Okay, so let's go one by one. So from the lower, so you have two ways. One of configuring as manually, right? So you manually go to the network settings of your laptop and then configure it, right? But this concept will be very troublesome where you have thousand or lakhs of laptops or desktop or devices, right? So it becomes very hectic that you go on to each devices and then configure the IP addresses, right? So the alternative is called DHCP, right? So it is nothing but the automation that happens once you connect to a network, right, or to a LAN. So automatically a IP address will be given to you. I mean, not any, but available IP address that is there on the DHCP IP pool which you have configured for it. Let's suppose I have configured CP pool as DHCP pool as 10 dot. Okay, so the available device that because we have only one IP, sorry, this will be give me a second. Okay, let it be. Okay, so suppose this laptop is getting the IP from the DHCP server. Okay, that is 10.1.1.2. Okay, this is the available. Now if any other device or any other LAN device that connects onto your network, right, so it first communicate with the DHCP server, right, and it gives the IP. It won't be giving you 1.2 IP because it's already assigned to another device, right? So the other any other that is available will be given on that particular on that particular device. Okay, so now what happens is that it also has some limit in the sense it has something called lease time. Lease time is nothing but you can manually do it, assign it on your DHCP server, that one device will get one IP for this duration. Let's suppose I am saying that I'll get one IP. I'm connected to the office network. I've got one IP and the lease time is 3 days. So whenever I connect to the office network, I'll have the same IP address for 3 days. Let's suppose I'm coming on the 4th day. So whatever the available IP is, IP address that is available on the DHCP pool is, I'll get that particular IP. Okay. Any doubt on this DHCP? Cool. Okay, let's move then. Okay, so LAN thing is concept is clear. We can configure the IP addresses manually or DHCP. Why we do DHCP is it will become troublesome if we have lots and lots of devices to configure, right? And it becomes very easy that what the client is having what IP. So the DHCP server helps us a lot in this stuff. Okay, these DHCP concept is also used in the cloud. So that is the reason I spoke about this. Okay, now router, right? So you need to connect to that particular router, right? And your router can work as a DHCP server as well. Okay, or you can have any other internal server as configured as DHCP, but that is another thing. wherein you need to connect to a domain, and domain will give you that DHCP server first when you connect to the network. So that is something else. But in basic, a router can also work as a DHCP server, wherein on, suppose this is port 1. So port 1 will work as the DHCP interface. Okay, so whenever the device is connected to this port, it will give you the IP address. Okay, and the range are defined on that particular router itself. Okay, now we go to the WAN side or the ISP side, wherein here also there are two ways, which is manually and DHCP. Okay, so let's suppose your ISP has told you that we have these public IP address which you can use, right? So it will give you some public IP address that you need to connect on your WAN IP, okay, or WAN interface. Okay, or what you can do is there's something called a DS, kind of a DHCP concept also, wherein it gives you dynamic public IP. Okay, so it gives you dynamic public IP in the sense that you need to configure some settings, wherein whatever the public IP available for that particular WAN DHCP, that will give on this public IP or WAN interface. But these concepts are not used. Why? Because suppose you have multiple stuffs going on, like suppose VPNs and all. So changing of IP address frequently will create issues, right? And let's suppose you are communicating with any other third-party websites or third-party companies wherein public IP whitelisting is required, because you are changing your public IP frequently. So you need to raise requests to that particular company frequently. So that becomes troublesome also for management purposes. So that's the reason we go for manual public IPs. Okay, because we have only one router on the edge part. We do not have multiple devices like LAN. So manual will be suggested. Okay, but in the public side, we use the dynamic or the DHCP kind of a concept there, wherein the cloud will give you the available public IP when you connect your device in one of the region, right? So it gives the available public IP to you. But you have another when you connect first time to that particular region, you'll get dynamically. But like suppose you want to have that public IP permanently, then you can after getting the public IP, you can change it from dynamic to static, so that that particular public IP will remain same on your device on the external interface. But if you do not change, what happens is, like suppose you reboot any router or any firewall or any server. So what happens is, if it's still dynamic, so there is a case or there's a chance that the IP address will change, public IP. Okay, so for not happening those kind of issues, we change the public IP from dynamic to static. We'll learn it in the lab part when we do it. Okay, so this that is the reason I give you a comparison in terms of cloud also. Okay, so this is it. So, and there's a concept which we will speak, which we have already spoken about, is the routing table or the gateways that we specify. So if you get this IP, right, you need to also specify what is the gateway, right, where it will go out, right, as we spoke about the doors and the gate of a room, right? So the same concept also uses in all the external, all the devices, right? So you need to specify that this IP will use this port, and this whatever the IP address this port will have will be your gateway. Okay, so this thing happens in the DHCP settings as well. So as I spoke, that you need to create a IP pool, wherein it gives you the DHCP pool details, wherein the IP addresses will, what IP addresses will be used, right? And you'll get the lease time for how much duration you want to have that IP, right? and there is another thing called the gateways. Okay, so you can specify all these pool gateways and the IP address on that particular DHCP and the lease time also. Okay, so these are the basic stuffs, right, that happens in the DNS. And if you suppose you do not use a DHCP, you are using manually, then you need to go manually and add. Let me show you. Like suppose sorry. So if you see, I am currently using Optin and IP automatically. There's nothing but I am connected. I'm trying to connect, or I'm suggesting that I'm connecting to a DHCP server, wherein it will give me IP automatically. But if you want to do it manually, then you need to give IP, and we'll speak about this subnet mask, right? And the default gateway. So you need to specify the gateway for that particular IP to reach the gateway. Okay. So that is it about it. Any doubt so far on this WAN, LAN, gateway, DHCP, and manually putting of IP? Any small doubt? No worries. I'll explain in. I mean again. Any small doubt you can say, please. Go ahead. No issues. Okay, cool. I'll move ahead. Okay, so yeah, collision domain. Yes. Okay, so as I was saying, collision domain and broadcast domain, right? So as I spoke about that, the collision domains work in one environment, in one compact environment, right? It works on one domain. And if you are talking about any other interface, it works in another domain, right? Okay, so if you see here, packet collision occurs as multiple device transmit data on a single wire link. Okay, and broadcast is nothing but it broadcasts in one particular domain, and it's a concept of switch. Like suppose for the first time you do not know what is the MAC address. We'll speak in the OSI layer that what is this MAC layer, or you can say physical address, and what is the IP address of that particular device, because you're first communicating with that particular device, right? Like suppose this. So this laptop is first communicating with this router and this ISP gateway or ISP router, right? So you do not know what is the MAC address and the IP address configured here. How would you know that? You need to go to this port and then you reach this, right? So what happens is you have given the gateway that the first tip off, and what happens is in terms of switch, it broadcasts on all the available ports except its own port. Like suppose you're broadcasting from one port number 1, and there are like suppose total port 10. So from port 2 to port 10, the broadcast will happen. And once the actual device, suppose the actual device is connected on port 9, right? So the device will send back the reply, right, saying that I'm connected on port 9, this is my MAC address and this is my IP address. So it updates its own table, which is called ARP. Okay, so we'll speak about it in the next slide. Okay, so ARP entries are very necessary because it will have that what device is connected in what port and what IP address and what physical MAC address it has. Okay. Okay, let's leave this. Yes, let's come to open system interconnection. You must have been hearing about OSI layer. Okay. Okay, Mohammed, I see your message. Yes, so we haven't covered much. It's just a basic happening, right? I spoke about hub, switches, and router. What is it, and what is the difference? And we spoke about sorry, we spoke about routers, and we spoke the comparison with the routers in the cloud. Okay, and we spoke about some concept called DHCP and VLAN IDs and stuff. Okay, we'll cover this in this OSI layer also. Okay, so OSI layer, if you see that we have 7 layer, right, from layer 1 up to layer 7, wherein physical layer is the first layer and application layer is the first one, sorry, the last one, right? So I won't go into details because you must have been working on it, you must have been knowing it, studying it, but I'll speak on the reality. I mean, what happens in our day-to-day work. Where does this OSI comes into play in the day-to-day work, right? Let's suppose you are connected to your laptop, right? Let's suppose you want to do a Facebook, you want to log into Facebook and you want to post something, right? So what you do, you open a browser, right? You open a browser and you put https facebook.com, right? So it redirects to that particular Facebook server and it gives you the content or the login page. Once you log in, you get the content and you can post the stuff, right? But how OSI layer comes into play? So your the application layer in this case is your browser. Okay, so browser could be anything, any browser, right? So your browser work as an application, right? So you open it, you put your Facebook, right? Facebook.com, and then happens from layer 7 to layer 1. How? So you work on, you have something, you heard about HTTPS and HTTP connections, right? Connection oriented and connectionless, UDP, HTTP. So all these stuffs come into the transport layer where the protocol is decided, right? So all this web communication happens on TCP, wherein it has to have the connection oriented connections, right? So it goes from layer 7, layer 6, layer 5, then layer 4, wherein it talks on the protocol, which is TCP in our case. And what happens is when you go out on the internet, nothing works on the, like facebook.com. Nobody understand facebook.com in terms of the internet, like the ISPs. They all talk in the IP addresses or the IP schemes, right? So network layer, wherein your facebook.com converts on some public IP, right? And you have done some concept called NAT, and it goes out of your router, right? And gets connected to that Facebook, and your content is comes into your laptop, right? And now what happens in data link, wherein what all MAC addresses we have, what all how we are going to go out of the particular laptop till the facebook.com. In our case, could be a Wi-Fi router. So all the detail would be there, right? That port 1 is connected with the router, and router has this IP address. This would be our gateway, and this is our MAC. All right. So these concept will come here. Now the physical layer, in terms of our case, it is wireless, right? Because we are connecting to Wi-Fi, or it could be a RJ45 cable wherein you plug in your LAN cable, right? So that goes out, your packet goes out from the wireless or LAN cable and goes to the internet, right, via the router. So this is how your layer 7 to layer 1 happens in day-to-day life, right? Let's suppose you are getting a reply back. I mean, the facebook.com is sending you some content back, like suppose a picture, you are want to see some friend's picture, right? So you're getting some content. So what happens is it reaches your laptop via wireless, if you are connected to a Wi-Fi or LAN cable, right? It hits the physical layer, then goes to the data link, which port is connected to what is the ARP, what is the MAC addresses, right? And the IP addresses, then the protocol, then goes to this session layer. Is the session created already? And presentation layer, because the user has to have some way to look into the content, right? And what is the available way of showing the content is the application layer, where we have browsers. Okay, so this is how the going out of packet from the laptop happens and coming in happens from here. Okay, so this is the OSI layer which we speak about, right? And your routers and everything stuff works on these two things, right? Wherein you speak about the transport and the network layer, wherein IP addresses and protocols are mentioned. Okay, and one more thing which I forgot to tell you, right? Okay, so you might have this question that why we only have private IPs on the local area network. Why cannot we have this IP addresses configured here also in the WAN side, right? And the public in this private, right? So this could be the, question why we have this segregation for public and private. So what happens is these private IP ranges, if you put it in Google, you'll get some 3 ranges, which is known as the private IP addresses or IP ranges, right? So if you configure it on the public side, what happens is in the ISP, there is a concept called infrastructure ACLs. ACLs is nothing but access control list, which we will speak about. Okay, it is nothing but on the permission. It's kind of a permission. Like suppose, um, let's suppose you are working on some project, right? And your manager or your lead has told you only to have only 2 members in it, right? So in total you can have only 3, right? But a 4th person comes in, so you have already put in one ACL saying that we can only have 2 and in total 3 members. So the 4th member will come, will see the ACL or the access control list and say that I cannot join this because all the members are already in the group. Okay, the same kind of a concept also used in the ACL. So it controls every access wherever it comes from source to destination. It controls the access, and because there might be lot of access controls, so they are defined it as a list. So access control list. Okay, so what happens is in the ISP, they already have these infrastructure ACLs, which will block all the private IPs. So if you configure the IP addresses in private also, and have some routing done also, but routing is done to reach the ISP also, but it won't work because the ISP will block it anyway, anyhow. Okay, so that is the reason this private and public thing is there. Okay, so this is it. Let's go back. Okay, now we have already spoken about what is GCP and the prior demo classes. If you haven't got chance, you can have it look. Okay, but I'll explain it again. So what happens is, like, why do we require, we had these hub switches, routers, OSI layers, and data centers. These all concepts were already there, and the data centers were already there. Why did we require another technology wherein we have to spend more and go to cloud, right? So what happened was, like, suppose to have any organization, so it must have a data center with it, where it requires lots and lots of switches, right? And lots of network devices, such as your router switches and L3 switches, your edge routers, firewall, access control, because if you are opening a data center, it needs to have some security, right? Security in terms of network and in terms of physical security also, that nobody goes into the data center and shut down your production devices, right? So all these stuffs come into play. right? And also costing, because you're owning a data center, you need to take care of the power, right? And you need to have some backup powers also. Let's suppose your electricity has gone down, so there must be some backup so that it can take care of that particular load for some time or some duration of time, right? So all this include on the costing, finances, right? And any other new technology that comes in, so we need to search for that particular engineer, or the existing engineer which is there in the company. We need to give them training so that they know about this new technology. And again, for new technology, we need to bring new servers, new stuffs, right? Again, the cost will come into play, right? So it's very difficult, I mean, for managing things and all, right? So how about somebody else is managing this for you? You'll just say that I require this things. Let's suppose you are making a website, right? You do not require big servers with huge CPU, huge hard drive, huge CPUs, right? It's just one website. But because when you purchase any stuff, you look for future references also, in the sense, right, that if you are creating one website, what happens is, suppose this website got a boom and your whole company is booming, and you need to create more website, right? Because if you heard about Google, Amazon, Lifecycle and all, they also started at a small space, small area, right? And then they expanded exponentially in the future, and present they are the biggest companies. So the same concept applies here also. So we might have, we in our current situation, we are opening at a small, but in the future we might grow. So we need to, when we are buying stuff, we need to think about that also. So we spend more on the services or servers. But if somebody comes and says you that I have something for you that you can use as of now, because you are a small company and you have small demands, but you can exponentially increase, and we will not, I mean, you don't have to buy any the other stuffs or other servers in huge cost, but I'll give you in the optimal or in the subsidized money or the expenses, right? So these concept called cloud came into, like, suppose in our current generation, we have this startup fashion, right, wherein we are using, or we are growing in a small and growing into a big players. So it's very hard for any newcomers to come into network and open its own data center, because it costs huge, right? So they tend to grow in the cloud. So the cloud gives you everything, right? Saying that it gives you servers, it gives you, or I mean, all the networkings will be done for you. I mean, the finished application can also be given to you, or if you want to have just a server, and you'll configure it, or you will deploy it, or you will program it, so that is also available, right? So there's concept called PaaS, IaaS, and infrastructure as a thing, platform as a thing, and a software as a thing, SaaS also, right? So we'll explain that in the next class. So these are the things why the cloud came into existence, right? So Amazon started, then Azure, and then GCP is coming in. And there is a, I mean, as Atul also told, that there are less number of engineers in GCP, right? So that is the reason the huge demand is there for GCP, and people are growing in, clients are growing into GCP because it is more friendly with the development side. So all the developers tend to use GCP because it uses the basic, I mean, languages to configure stuff, right? So that is the reason GCP has been used. Okay, so this is the reason, I mean, why GCP came into existence. Not GCP, the cloud came into existence, right? And why GCP, as I've told you, the easy way of doing stuffs in the GCP, and also that in day-to-day life, all must be using Google stuffs, right? Like, suppose you are using YouTube, you are using Google Drive, you are using Gmails, right? All are given by Google. So it's already trusted and thousands of users are using it. So going from those small applications to GCP won't be a big task for us. because the same account of Gmail can be used in the GCP as well. Okay, so that is the reason we go and we tend to use GCP. Okay, now let's go to this one. So services, right? So if you see services that are available in the GCP, right? So there's something called compute, identity security, networking, big data, storage database, and machine learning. This is nothing but the virtualization. So if you have heard about VMware, we'll speak into details in next classes, just a brief. Okay, so compute is nothing but the VMware which we do, right? I mean, we have one server, we split those servers into many services or applications, right? Like suppose you have one server with you, you want to configure one firewall, you want to configure one suppose application, and you want to configure as a web server. So you can split that particular bare metal server, physical server, into virtualized application or services. Okay, so the same concept also used in compute engine, app engine. App engine is nothing but, so in the compute engine, let's go one by one. So in compute engine, this is basically the VM, which you know about and you have the knowledge about, right? So virtualized machine, in which what you need to do is you need to choose which iOS to use. iOS in the sense, let's suppose you want to have one Windows server on cloud. Okay, so now you have the option that what Windows server. Let's suppose you have 2012, 2016, 2019, 2021, right? So all these Windows Server options you have. So you'll choose one of it because you have some requirement that you need to do, right? You have some work. So suppose you choose 2016 Windows, right? Now what you need to do is you need to give the IP addresses. I mean, what IP it will know of, right? And then there is something like I already spoke about ACLs. So there is also one concept called security groups, or in GCP it is called as firewalls. So ACL is called firewall in GCP, right? So this we will go one by one. Okay, so these all stuff you need to configure manually. Okay, now what happens is in the app engine is like suppose you do not want to I mean go and take care of the what iOS to use, what is the IP addresses and all those stuff, right? So app engine gives you gives it directly. I mean, if you have some development, like suppose you want to develop some application on Python, right? You'll just choose Python language and you'll start doing your work. You don't have to go and choose which iOS, which Python to use, which version to use. No, they will give you the Python environment and you start doing it, right? So it's kind of in the day-to-day life, what happens is, like suppose you go to your home, you get your cooked food, right? This is called an app engine. Okay, but if you are staying alone and you're staying in some PG or you're staying away from your family, you need to go buy vegetables, buy cereals, buy rice, and then go to your kitchen and then cook stuffs, right? So all the same concept is here also. So the cooked food is app engine, wherein you go and just put it in the plate and then start having it, right? But in the compute engine, you need to configure, you need to have it already, and then you can configure it. Okay, so container engine is a concept wherein is an advanced concept, you can say, from the VMs, right? I have something with me that I will cover in the later classes, because I don't want to confuse you guys, right? So once everything will be cleared out from the GCP, we'll move to containers, what is containers and what is Kubernetes. So these will be just basic stuffs. Okay, and okay, I can give you a few examples like containers, like you work on your kitchen, right? So you have containers for each, like for a container for rice, container for cereals, right? So the same concept also uses here. So kitchen works as your bare metal or bare metal server or physical server. right? And your serial containers, your RISE containers work as the container engines. Okay, so they are segregated. So the one container will not know of what the other container has in it. Okay, so the RISE container will not know what is it in the serial container, but the container administrator, which is you, which you have configured, and you have access to the kitchen, right? So you know that which application or which thing is there in the container. Okay, so container registry is nothing but I mean, you go to the shop, right? You go to some shop or mall to buy stuff, to buy cereal, to buy rice. So the same concept also is applied here. So in the container, there is concept called images. So image is nothing but the iOS, you can say. So they fetch the iOS for that rice and cereal from the container registry. Okay, so container registry has all those stuffs. I mean, all those images for everything, cereals, rice, and other stuffs, oil, right? So you fetch the images from that registry and then implement it in your containers. Okay. Cloud functions. This will speak later. This will confuse you. Okay. Next to identity and security. These are this security is more or less towards the I mean the access to the devices or the services or the application which you create, right? Let's suppose you have created one application server and you want to have only 2 folks from a company to have access to it. So your identity and authentication management comes into place, access management comes into place. So this in this you will have some roles defined. Roles in the sense what the user will do. Is it admin access or it is read-only access? So all those modifications you can do it on the IAM. Okay, and these are advanced things which are not covered here. Okay, and the networking. So for any devices, right? So for anything to communicate with each other, so networking comes into place, right? So we have already spoken about routers, hubs, switches. So more or less same concept or same understanding works here also, right? So this virtual network is nothing but uh, environment, right? So is a isolated environment for like suppose you have 2 VPCs with you, right? And you have created 2 VPCs, which is nothing but virtual private cloud, and here it uses cloud virtual network. The same thing is there. If you have worked on AWS and Azure, in Azure it's called VNet, but in AWS it's called VPC. So it's also same, and it's interchangeable word or terminology in GCP also. Okay, so what happens is it's a virtual private cloud, right? So as the name suggests, it's a virtual, it's not I mean physical, and this is private to the devices that belong to that VPC. Okay, it's kind of a environment wherein you place your devices, and the other VPC members will not know unless and until you have done the connectivity between the VPCs. So that concept is VPC pairing. So we will speak about it in the other classes. Okay, and load balancing, as the name suggests, like suppose you have 2 or 3 web servers, right? And users are connecting to that web servers. So you can do load balancing between those web servers, right? Wherein which user to use. I mean, there are concept called round robin and all, and persistence also, that you stick to one particular web service. In case of like suppose you are doing a ticket on one of the airlines, right? And it opens the session for some time. If you go for payment, you see the timeouts happening on the top saying that these remaining timings there, you need to do the payment in this time. So once that time is gone off or timed out, so you need to make another new session, and it might create or connect to the same server or to a different, depending on the availability. Okay. CDN is nothing but what happens is, like suppose you are connecting to YouTube, suppose, and you are in suppose India, okay, and YouTube server available in India is suppose Delhi only, right? Let's suppose for any reason your Delhi is not working. I mean, due to some issues, right? Your Delhi server is not working, right? Now, what happens is you'll face some issues, latency issues, right? Or you're not able to get the content, but your internet is working fine, right? So what happens is, in that case, whatever the location which is near to you, I mean, let's suppose the other available at near you is Sri Lanka, suppose, right? So you'll now connect to Sri Lanka location, okay? Now what happens is, you are connected to Sri Lanka location, you will face some latency because due to the distance and all this stuffs, right? So now what happens is your Delhi location comes back on, right? So what happens is, because you are more near or edged, or the content delivery is more near to the Delhi location. So now you'll now connect to the Delhi location because it has come back on. Okay, so this is CDN, content delivery and networking. Okay, it's the same concept used here. Cloud interconnect and DNS will speak later. Interconnect, I mean, DNS is same which we know of, right? And interconnects is something that we'll speak about in the networking part, because this needs to be explained through the labs, all right? And big data, this is nothing but the logging that are available, big queries and all, that you are using like multiple services and applications, right? And you want to know which user has logged in and what is happening on that particular devices and all. So these big data and stuff will make you understand this stuff, right? And storage and database, name suggest, all these are used for storage and databases, okay? And machine learning is not part of this course. Let's go next. What else do I have? Okay, so this is the console. What you can do is, you can go to console.google.com, right? Or you can just type in GCP console on the Google and try to create a new account, right? So it's very simple. If you have Gmail, you can log in through the Gmail account, right? If you don't have, you need to first make a Gmail account. And once you have it, you will get this console, okay? But you won't be able to do any stuff for the while, because you need to add your credit card details or debit card details, which will be available under give me a second. Yeah, if you go this side, you'll have the drop down and you'll see as billing. So if you go to the billing and you add your credit card and all, so all the free items that is there for, I think, $300 in GCP. So you can create a basic servers, you can create basic VPCs and all. We will cover this in the lab tomorrow, right? Wherein I'll give you the introduction, how to create and all. But if you want to have it beforehand, you can create it, because it will save you time. Okay. Now, yes, we already spoke about the Google Compute Engine, right? Wherein we spoke about that these are nothing but the VM machines that we know of, right? It's just that there are some instances, VM instances with different series that will speak in details when we go on the deployment part. So as of now, we have this E2, N2, N2D, and N1. These are nothing but the flavors that are available, okay? Types that are available, right? That this E2 is something with less amount of CPUs or hard drive. N2s are more of high-end or mid-range, used for mid-range or high-range devices, right? So if you go to the documentation part, you'll get each and every details on it, okay? And these are the few examples wherein you see that E2 micro, N2 standard 2, N2 high CPU 80, N2 D2 high CPU 220. So if you see, these are the ways. Like suppose if you want to create high-end applications, so you need to go with N2 D2, right? Which because it might require high CPUs, right, for your working. So depending on the requirement, you need to choose, and also if you move to a higher end, you need to pay more, right? That is the concept, and you have two ways. So there's a concept called pay as you go, which is let's suppose if you are using a service for 8 hours in a day, right? So you need to pay only 8 hours a day. You won't be paying for the 24 hours. So that is there. And one is bring your own license concept, right? Wherein you will buy a license for suppose some duration, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, right? So you can use that device for that particular duration, right? So that is there. We'll speak in the deployment phase. And there's something called development kit I mean, it's available in all the um, cloud technologies, AWS, Azure, GCP. So these are nothing but development tools, right? Automation tools, you can say. Now, as I told you about this compute engine, let's suppose you have one application that you're creating, and you chose N2, and you're creating or choosing the CPU and memories, hard drive, their IP addresses, ACLs, public IP, private IPs, all those stuff. So it will take you time, right? It might be easy for one, but if I tell you to create 1,000 of app servers, now it will become very hard for you, or troublesome, and more time consuming for you, right? So development or automation comes into play, wherein what will happen is you program it according to your need, wherein you will already specify which instance type to use, hard drive to use, CPUs to use, IP ranges to use, all those stuff. You just need to go to the SDKs and run those program, and your everything will be configured automatically. You don't have to go manually and do it. Okay, so they are basically on the Python, right? And if you see, it's available for Windows, Linux, Debian, Ubuntu, and Windows and Mac, right? And 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 because if you talk about Python, so we will be having the CLI utilities, right? So you will get three type of CLI utilities, which is gcloud, gsutil, and BQ, which is nothing but BigQuery, right? So if you want to interact with other services, so gcloud will work, Google Cloud, right? And if you want to interact or develop or automate the storage part, you will use gsutil. Yes. And if you want to work with the logging, BigQueries, and all the stuff, you'll use BQ. Okay, so these are the three available stuff. Okay, so that's all. So any question you have, please bring in. Let me stop this, and let me know if you have any questions. I'll unmute you and you can speak. Let me know. Just put your question in chat so that I can unmute you. Or just say I have a question. Jay Kumar, okay. You raised a hand. Yeah, go ahead, Jay.
The problem is that we have free tier over AWS, correct? Likewise, we have any, for GCP, Google, having or you have to pay?
Beg your pardon. Well, I missed the last point. What is it?
No, like see, for AWS, free tier we're getting for 1 year, correct?
A free tier. Okay, okay. Yes, yes. It is available in the GCP also. So as I told, it's around $300. So you can do the basic stuffs like in the AWS. You can create VPCs. You can create your Elastic interfaces. Yeah, you can create gateways, routing tables, and you can create VPCs. Create free Windows machine, Ubuntu machines. So same thing is available in the GCP also. Yeah.
And one more thing.
Yes.
You are speaking about the VPC service. So I have heard this in AWS. I have heard, but the same name appears for GCP or it varies.
Yes. So it uses VPC only, right? And the concept is same, right? It's just that the way of deployment is different in different, cloud technologies, right? And if you speak in terms of AWS, if you see that there everything works on the ID, like instance ID, interface IDs. If you're giving the routing also, you need to give the interface IDs and all, right? So that becomes very troublesome also, because you have to open multiple windows, get those IDs and then place it, right? So that is very difficult, but it has if you compare with GCP, it is more easy, wherein it works as a legacy data centers, wherein you can give IP addresses. It's more like source and destination. And if you create the SGs in AWS also, there you can only put the source, right? You cannot give destination. So from which source it is coming and what is the protocol ports. So those you can configure in AWS. But in GCP, if you speak about, you can give the source and destination. You can, do filtering on based on source and destination, protocol ports, everything. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Any more question, please? Any more question, guys? Anything? Okay. Let me unmute you. Yes. Go ahead, please.
Okay. So my name is �絵𝐧𝐥𝐲𝐭. So I have a question for the course at the beginning.
Yeah.
They are telling that in the cloud architect course they will include Zscaler, right? And also Aviatrix as well.
No, they were comparing it with Aviatrix. So they are going to have the same concept here also, wherein they will have this AWS, Azure, GCP, Zscaler, everything will be combined in one course, right? And you'll have multiple trainers giving you stuffs, right? Because each member have its own experience and you'll get to have a lot of experience, and because you haven't worked on these stuffs, right? So because people like us, we are working on the actual production work, right? So we know of what is happening, right? So it becomes very handy and very good for you that you have prior these kind of issues that arises, you way ahead, so you won't be making any mistake on the cloud if you are deploying anything. Yeah.
Also the Prisma Cloud and Prisma Access will be added in this course?
No, it is not added here. I have the experience. I was giving a brief on myself that time I spoke about. So this course will not include anything on Prisma and Prisma Access.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And how about 𝐔𝐻𝐭𝐸? Will this like Google Kubernetes in Google?
Yes.
Covered?
Yes, we will. I will speak about in this, but there is a entirely separate batch happening on those stuff. But in my GCP course, I would be speaking about the containers and Kubernetes, not in advance. I won't be doing any labs, but the conceptual things I will be giving you.
Okay, and for infrastructure as a code, will you discuss the like Terraform kind of things for the DevOps automation, or it will be separate course?
Not Terraform, but I can give you the documentations where you can go ahead and learn stuff. Okay, I mean, I will give you examples on the SDKs, which is the native development tool which I spoke about, right? Development kit. So I'll give you those stuff. You can go ahead with it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Any more questions, please, guys? Or we can wind up for today. Sam, all good? Mohammed, all good? Sam, all good? Okay, thanks, Mohammed. Okay, guys, thank you so much for today's time. We'll see you tomorrow, and we'll cover more into GCP from tomorrow. It was just a basic class, right? And you can go again with this training. Whatever concept I've spoken about, you can go and read about it, because these are the stuffs that will be covered on the GCP, right? So, okay, guys, so we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night, and we'll see you.